Hi, I'm Steve Selling, founder of fit.test, and I thought I'd just take new subscribers or people thinking about subscribing through a quick guided tour of the app so that you can get a little bit of an idea of what it does and what its strengths are. So, first of all, when signing up, and I won't go into there now, the first obvious thing is that you have a month free trial for absolutely no obligation. And you can decide right at the end of that month after having used it that you don't want to become a subscriber and you won't be charged anything for that month. Also within sign up, you can insert your own logo in the top left so that that logo will appear on all of your reports. Let's go to subscriber login. And what I'll do now is I'll just set up a new client. Just make that John Smith. Make up a date. And mail. Add the client. We can now find that client by just going like so. And we can now start a new test. You can put an optional name of a test there. Just suppose I'm going to do a walk uphill test. I can just say walk uphill 1, and we'll do this test here. I've just selected that from the 4 options. Now, it's very important at this stage that you fill in these grey cells at the top. Now, you can do it at the end, but it's better just to do it now. I'm going to show you something about heart rate peak later on. So let me just put in a fictitious weight. These are all made up. I'll put in 133 because the person's on a beta blocker, for example, 55 heart rate. Now, I'll just make up some speeds and gradient combinations. What I do in my test is I find a speed that the person is just sort of comfortable at, fairly comfortable, and then just use gradient and leave speed constant. So let me just pick 5.5 as the speed that I've chosen for this client, and I'll show you in other videos how to get to that. But basically this speed corresponds to medium, sort of about 7, 8, 9 on the 6 to 20 point Borg scale of perceived exertion. It's very important to do what I've just done there, and that's delete the unused rows. You can do that. You can always add more rows later, but just delete them so that you're not left with empty rows when you go to process the data. And I'll just suppose that this person can go 4, 6, and then they get a bit tired and we'll go 7, 8, 9, and we just make 10% gradient. So I've started with 2% and then I've slipped that back to 1%. Normally in my test, because I've done so many of them, I will just hit on the right increase in percent gradient, and I'm either using 1% per minute or 2% per minute. All of these are 1 minute stages. I'm a big believer in 1 minute stages, which is almost like a ramp protocol. Let me make up some heart rates. Remembering this person's on a beta blocker, 88, 92, and then we'll just jump around a bit. 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 3, 2. And I'll just put in some exertions. So suppose the first one was 8, that's on the 6 to 20 point scale. Equally, you can use the 0 to 10 point scale. You could even put in a breathing or a pain scale here if you wanted to instead of RPE. It really doesn't matter. It'll just show here as the peak. 9, 11, 11, 12, 13, 15, 15, and we'll make that 16. And we've now got a display. Now you can see here we've got a very, scattered heart rate record, and my my app will then work out the line of best fit. So it was really good to show you what a such out of rhythm, if you like, heart rate progression was, and this would be typical with someone with an arrhythmia, for example, atrial fibrillation. So what I've just displayed there could be, for example, atrial fibrillation. I've just made up those heart rates. What we want to do, what I want to do clinically is bring this red dot close to the top of the green graph. So I have 132 there. I'm just going to slip that back to, because it could be atrial fibrillation, I'll just make that 132. And it didn't make a lot of difference because of the arrhythmia. I'll show you now. Now I could save that now, but what I want to do is just show you some variations on that when you don't have arrhythmia like this. And I'll show you more of a normal sort of progression in heart rates. 100, 117, 123, and 130. That's still 77. Make that, I'll just try and clean that up a little bit. 80, and make that 96, 90. It's a bit hard to clean it up, but fourth one. Yeah, that's pretty clean there. Make that 100. Okay, I've achieved that now, and I'll just bring that back up to 133. So what I want to show you there is where we have a nice linear response, and this is very typical. I'm going to show you on other videos how many of my tests I can actually achieve really good linearity like that. So now we've got more of a typical. The one I showed you before would be an example with atrial fibrillation or lots of ectopic activity. So let's just save that test report now. Close that, and you can start a program. We'll go and look at the reports later. And what we can do now is do a program where you've got a lot of options for programming, and this is based on that person's exercise test, where you could do a walk uphill based on heart rate. I've put it in there because people like to program on heart rate. Personally, I don't, but it's in there. It's in there only for the first one, because when you change modes of exercise, it's not valid to do the heart rate method. So the heart rate range, percent of heart rate range, and heart rate are only available for that mode of exercise that you've just used. So I like the percent of VO2 peak a lot. So I'm going to just do this one. Again, what we've got is we're basing this on this person's predicted estimated VO2 peak. And let's just go, I'll just show you how to do an interval training program. And I'm going to make the speeds 5.5 as we had before, but you could use a higher speed or a lower speed. And I'll just show you what an interval training program could look like. And then I'll just step it down. I like to step it down at the end of my session. If this is too complicated, you can easily simplify this for your client. Again, delete the unused rows. I'm just going to copy all this down. And the time, I might make these easier ones at the beginning of just 30 seconds. Again, copy those down until we get to 90, and then I'll make it 1.30 at the top end. And I'll make all the interval training, I'll make that 1 minute. And I'll make all the 90s just for now, just to show you. And then these 50s at 1 minute, and then 30-second step down. You can see how quickly I've done this, and this is based on the person's, and that's what the program looks like. So it's a step up to 90% of VO2 peak, and then a step down to 50. Now, suppose you wanted to do a really high intensity training, it would actually work out for you the gradient. And by the way, the gradients have been worked out over here. So by putting in the percent VO2 peak and the speed that we used in the exercise test, it will calculate the gradient. So at 90%, we're up at 8% gradient. And when we slip it back to 50%, we're at 1% gradient, that sort of thing. So we're alternating between 8 and 1. You don't need to put in the RPEs at this stage. I'll just show you now before I save it what, say, 120% would look like. For the same idea. And now it's just made this a high intensity interval training. So that's how easy it is to do it. And you'll notice that it's recalculated these gradients now to 13% from 8%. So I'm happy with that. Make sure you delete the unused rows. Let's save that program. I'll show you the reports. So I won't, I'll show you that program report straight off. And then I want to show you the test report. You have two options for your program report, the long and the short. I'll just show you the short because that's more user-friendly for the client. But the long program report is pretty much what you're seeing on this screen. So that's now downloading, and you'll get it in a PDF form. Opening that up, as I said, you can put your logo up here on the top left. And what you've got now is a display of the speed and the gradients and the times and the total time for that program, and then a visualization of what it looks like for a high intensity interval training program. If we go back here and search for that, you need to go back here and search for your client again. So we've got John Smith, and I just want to show you the test report that I didn't show you earlier. And this time I will show you the long report, because this is, you can either send the long report or the short report to your referring doctor or other health professional. And I'd probably recommend sending the short test report to your client, but you might want to send the long test report to your client, whatever you want to do. So the full test report again looks like this. So we've got the client's details at the top, and it shows what test we did. We did walk test uphill, and we called it walk uphill 1, 54-year-old male client. Then we see the data displayed again, and you can see the progression in VO2 peak up to 100% here, 5.5, and we got to 10% gradient. So the data's there, but I wanted to show you these graphs, and I'll just make those a little bigger so you can see those. And you can see, I obviously manufactured these heart rates just to demonstrate the point, but you'll get a very linear range in heart rates for most clients, unless they have cardiac arrhythmias or lots of anxiety or something. I'm sure within half a dozen tests, you're going to get really good linear responses like this. I've got hundreds of tests like this on my own practice. And here over here, I didn't mention this before you, but you get a display of where the person's VO2 peak is in relation to, loosely called the norms for those, all the different ages. Okay, so that's what you get in the long report. I now want to go back to my client, and again, I need to loop back to the client to start a new test. What I'm going to do is start a new test, and I won't take you through in as much detail, but I'll just quickly go through. Cycle test, again, enter your data at the top. Again, delete your unused rows when you're finished. And then you just put in your watts, such as 50. I'll just very quickly demonstrate 70, 80, and I'll just do a 5-minute test, literally just a 5-minute test. And we'll put in some made up heart rates. And I'll just put in 15 here just to get something. Oh, I haven't put in my weight here. So we had 77, 133, and 55. So you have to put those in to get a display. And now you can see here, made up heart rates, again, artificially high linear correlation. But again, those same displays there. So that's how you do it for cycle. I might as well save that, seeing I'll put it in. Again, you can program. Again, and if you want to start a program, I'll show you the options now. So the options now have turned to cycling at the top, but you can cross prescribe into walking uphill, running, or walking on the flat, and also this walking on the the flat there. Sorry, that's walking uphill. This is walking on the flat or running, and stepping exercise as well. So you've always got these options to prescribe across other modes of exercise. I won't do that now. I'll go back, and instead of showing you the running test, which I'm sure you can realize is just the same idea as for walking, let's go straight to the step test now. And in the step test, you've got a bit more data to put in here, the same data we had before, but now the recommended step height is calculated from the person's height. I'll just put in some data. And we'll just say this person's 182 centimetres, and it comes up with a recommended step height. This would be for a low-level client, 22.75. Obviously, you're not going to have a step exactly that height, so that's why we can put in our preferred step height. And if you think this client's a bit fitter than that, or you've got a 30 centimetre step, that's what you could use. And now another feature I've built in here is to build in my step protocol. My step protocol is very different to most of the published step protocols, which are only single stage tests. And I don't like them at all. I don't use any single stage tests at all in any of my, and you won't find it on my app. So these are all multi-stage tests, and that's why I've done this based on the American College of Sports Medicine stepping algorithm. Now, if I put that in, it will pre-populate some step speeds. So these are step speeds, and on the exercise record sheet, which I won't show you now, but you can find it under articles on the front page of my app, myfitness.com.au, you'll be able to download a recording sheet which will allow you to deal with these sort of things and tell you what you need to set the metronome. Now, suppose 12 and 14 are too slow, I'll just get rid of them. And I'll just start here. And we won't go all the way up. We'll just go to 28. Put quite a narrow band there, and I'll just again make this just 16. And we haven't got enough heart rate there. We'll need to go to 136. See what that looks like. And we've now landed the red dot. Again, I've got some arrhythmia built in there because I just made them up. But clinically, I'm trying to land that red dot as close to the top of the green graph as I can. And you can do that, but you don't have to do that. I'll show you what happens if you use the age predicted heart rate max, which would be ridiculous in this case, because this person's on a beta blocker. You get this sort of effect here, where you get this completely unachievable range of exercise intensities between where they were at 16 out of 20 RPE and what this theoretical VO2 peak is. Now, unfortunately, that's what the vast majority of, in fact, every commercial app that I've seen trying to predict VO2 peak, that's what they all do. And mine is the only one where you have this control. And I looked long and hard because I wrote this for my own practice. I'm going to put that back to 136. And now I've got a range of symptom-free exercise intensities with an estimated VO2 peak. And I can use that as a starting point for this person's exercise interventions. And again, it just plots against age. So I'll generate that test report. Once you've saved a test report, you can't change it, unfortunately. I don't have that feature yet in the app. I may get it one day, but it's a bit of fiddling with a database. So once it's saved, it's saved. And if you want to change anything on it, you'll have to put the data back through again, but you can see it doesn't take long. The last thing I wanted to show you, and I'll just show you on this test client at the top here, how to compare tests. So if I just take some walking uphill test, I'll take cycling, I won't take the running test. I'll just take cycling, walking uphill, just do a few of them. Atrial fibrillation example there. Okay, that'll do. And we'll just compare tests. And we will get, now you'll get reports for this, and you can download a report of that. This just shows for cycle, the VO2 peaks estimated for those dates, and the same in date order, the same for walking test uphill, and you've got your numerical data below, and you can get all that in a report. And I didn't do run or step for that client. So that's really what I wanted to show you in this presentation. And as you probably already know, the website is myfittest.com.au. So if we just go back to log out there, and we'll go to home, and you can see here under articles, down the bottom here, I've got the RPE, RPB scales for you, which you can get anyway, even if you're not a subscriber. There's two, the 6 to 20 and the 0 to 10, and I've got a breeding scale as well. So you can download those. And then the other thing you can do is the exercise record sheet that looks like this. You can download that for free as well. Okay, so that's really all I wanted to share with you. And I wish you well. If you have any questions at all, I'm available at info@myfittest.com.au, or my phone number is 0418 570 772. Happy to chat to you so that you can get the best out of this app. And thanks for listening.